You will not want to miss the next one. Let us begin. It was a humid evening when the Ethiopian Airlines flight finally touched down at the Murtala Muhammad Airport in Lagos. The terminal was crowded. Voices overlapped. Suitcases dragged across the tiled floor. A slow, calm man walked out of the arrival gate. His name was Chidi Okafor. He pushed a black trolley stacked with 2 large suitcases. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up. Around his neck was a small golden chain, a gift from his late mother. Nobody around him knew that the quiet man standing in line for a taxi had quietly built a multi-million-dollar software company from a tiny room in Canada. Chidi had not set foot in Nigeria in 15 years. He had missed everything: funerals, weddings, births, and one person in particular, Adeze, the love of his youth. As the taxi moved through Third Mainland Bridge, Chidi pressed his forehead against the glass. Lagos looked different. Taller buildings, brighter billboards. But the smell of the city, that mixture of diesel and pepper soup, had not changed. His stomach tightened. He was not coming back to celebrate. He had come back to find her, to ask for forgiveness, and to fulfill a promise he had made 20 years earlier under a mango tree in their village. "Driver, please take me to Ikeja," Chidi said quietly. "Oga, traffic is plenty tonight," the driver replied with a tired smile. "But we will get there." Chidi nodded. He pulled out his old phone and opened his gallery. There it was, a faded photograph of a young woman. Braided hair, bright smile, eyes full of life. That photograph was the only thing that had kept him going during the coldest winters of his life. 15 years ago, he had left her with a promise. He had said, "When I come back, I will build you a house. I will marry you. I will give you the world." But he had never come back. Until now. The taxi finally stopped near a busy junction in Ikeja. Chidi paid, stepped out, and thanked the driver. He stretched. His legs were stiff from the long flight. The heat of Lagos hit him like fire. Then his eyes drifted toward a small wooden kiosk by the roadside. Hand-painted letters on a board read, "Adeze Tea, hot and sweet." Below the sign, a middle-aged woman knelt over a coal pot. Her wrapper was faded. Her face was thin. She fanned the fire with an old cardboard. Children played around her feet. Chidi watched her for a moment. Something in the way she moved, small, careful, gentle, felt painfully familiar. He walked up slowly. "Good evening, Ma. Please give me 1 cup of tea," he said. The woman looked up. Her hand stopped moving. Her eyes froze. The cup in her hand trembled. For 5 long seconds, she could not speak. Then softly, almost like a whisper carried by the wind, she said, "Chidi?" Chidi's body stiffened. That voice, that name. He had not heard it in 15 years. He had only heard it in his dreams. His eyes widened. He looked at her face closely now. Older, tired, lines on her forehead. But behind those tired eyes was the same Adeze he had loved. Adeze?" he whispered. Her lips trembled. The cup fell from her hand. Hot tea splashed onto the sand. She tried to stand, but her knees gave way. Chidi rushed forward. He caught her just before she hit the ground. "Adeze! Adeze!" he shouted. Passers-by rushed over. "She has fainted!" someone screamed. "Call an ambulance! Quick!" Chidi did not wait for the ambulance. He lifted her gently into his arms and began running down the street, searching for a hospital. Inside the emergency ward of a small private clinic, doctors and nurses moved quickly around Adeze. Chidi sat in the waiting area. His hands were shaking. His shirt was stained with tea and dust. He could not believe it. 15 years. 15 years of searching for her in his heart. 15 years of carrying her photograph wherever he went. And he had found her. Not in a beautiful house, not in a fine dress, not in a respectable office. He had found her selling tea by the roadside. How did life bring her to this? As Chidi waited, his mind drifted back. Back to the village. Back to the mango tree. Back to the years that had shaped both their lives. Many years ago, in a small village in Anambra, two young hearts had fallen deeply in love. Chidi had been a quiet boy who loved to draw. He had no money. He had no father. His mother worked as a petty trader. But he had a dream: to travel abroad and build a life that would make his mother proud. Adeze had been the daughter of a village chief. Beautiful, humble, soft-spoken. Every young man in the village admired her. But she only had eyes for Chidi. They met every evening under the mango tree near the stream. They did not have much. No money, no phones, no promises of luxury. But they had something stronger. They had trust. One evening, while sitting under the tree, Chidi finally told her his plan. "Ada, I want to travel abroad. There is a man in Onitsha who helps young men get visas. I want to try." Adeze's eyes widened. "Travel abroad? But Chidi, we don't have money." "I know," he said quietly, "but I will find a way." She did not say anything. She only held his hand tighter. Narration style. Dramatic, cinematic storytelling. Single narrator only. Use James' voice only. Read slightly fast. Keep pauses extremely minimal. Natural emotional flow, but do not overact. The next 2 weeks were difficult. Chidi went from one relative to another, begging for help. Most of them laughed at him. Others insulted him. One uncle even called him a useless dreamer. But Adeze did not give up on him. One morning, she walked up to him with a small Ghana mustard bag. "Open it," she said. Inside was a thick roll of cash, old, wrinkled Naira notes. Some of them had been folded so many times they were almost falling apart. "Where did you get this?" Chidi asked, shocked. Adeze lowered her eyes. "I sold my gold earrings," she whispered. "The ones my mother gave me before she died. I also sold part of my father's land, the small plot behind our house." Chidi was speechless. Tears filled his eyes. "Ada, why would you do this?" "Because I believe in you," she said softly. "You are not a useless dreamer. You are a blessing. And one day, you will prove it to everyone." That night, Chidi knelt on the ground and made a promise. A promise he would carry for the rest of his life. "I, Chidi Okafor, swear before God and before you, Adeze. The day I succeed, I will come back for you. I will marry you, and I will give you the life you deserve." She believed him. Weeks later, the day of departure finally came. At the small motor park in Onitsha, Adeze held him tightly. She did not cry, or rather, she tried not to cry. "When you reach there, call me," she said. "Promise me you will call." "I promise," Chidi replied. He boarded the vehicle. He did not look back. Because if he did, he knew he would not have the courage to leave. The first 2 months abroad felt like a dream. Chidi arrived in Canada. He got a small room. He started attending night classes. During the day, he worked in a warehouse, lifting boxes. Every Sunday, he called Adeze from a public phone booth. "How are you, my love?" he would ask. "I am fine. Just miss you," she would reply. Those calls gave him strength. They reminded him why he was there. But on the 63rd day, disaster struck. Chidi was returning from evening class. He walked through a cold alley. 3 young men approached him. One of them pushed him. Another snatched his bag. The third one ran off with everything inside: his wallet, his documents, and the small Nokia phone that contained Adeze's number. Chidi screamed. He chased them, but they disappeared into the dark. He went to the police. He filed a report, but nothing came of it. For months, he walked from one phone store to another, trying desperately to recover that number. But it was gone. He tried writing letters. He sent them to the village, but most of them never arrived. Some addresses were wrong. Some letters came back stamped, "Returned to sender." He was completely cut off from her, and he was too broke to fly back home. So he stayed. He worked harder. He studied harder. He cried alone at night. Back in Nigeria, Adeze waited, and waited, and waited. At first, she understood. She told herself, "He is busy. He will call soon." But weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. She went to the village post office every week. There was never any letter. She begged relatives who had traveled abroad to help her locate him. None of them could. Slowly, her life began to crumble. Her father, the village chief, died. Her uncles took over the family land, including the small plot she had sold to fund Chidi's trip. They told her she had no right to it since she was just a daughter. She was thrown out of her father's house. She moved to Lagos. She rented a tiny room in Yaba. She looked for work, any work, but nobody wanted to hire an uneducated village girl with no experience. Hunger became her companion. Shame became her shadow. She swallowed her pride and started selling tea by the roadside. Some nights, when business was slow, she would sit alone on an empty gut, lean against a dirty wall, and whisper Chidi's name to the stars. 15 years, she told herself. He promised. He will come back. But deep down, a voice inside her kept asking, what if he has forgotten me? Back at the hospital, the doctor finally stepped out of the ward. "Mr. Chidi?" he called. Chidi stood up quickly. "Yes, doctor. How is she?" The doctor's face was serious. "She is awake now, but we ran some tests, and we found something serious." Chidi's heart skipped. "What did you find?" "She has been carrying a severe ulcer for many years. It has now reached a dangerous stage. If surgery is not performed soon, the outcome could be fatal." Chidi's legs felt weak. "How much does the surgery cost?" The doctor mentioned a figure. It was big, but it was not a problem for Chidi. "Do the surgery today," Chidi said firmly. "I will pay everything." The doctor looked surprised. "Today?" "Yes, right now." Narration style. Dramatic, cinematic storytelling. Single narrator only. Use James' voice only. Read slightly fast. Keep pauses extremely minimal. Natural emotional flow, but do not overact. Hours later, Chidi gently pushed the door open and stepped into the ward. Adeze lay on a white bed. Her eyes were open. Her face was pale. When she saw him, fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. "Chidi," she whispered. He walked closer, slowly. He pulled a chair and sat beside her. "I am here, Ada," he said softly. I am here now. She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers trembled. Is this real? She asked. Or am I dreaming? It is real, he said. I came back for you. 2 weeks after the surgery, the doctor smiled. She is recovering well, he said. She can go home now. Chidi brought her to his new house in Lekki, a beautiful duplex with white walls, a green lawn, and balconies overlooking the lagoon. When Adeze stepped into the house, she froze. She did not know where to look first. Chidi, this is too much, she said quietly. Nothing is too much for you, Ada, he replied. That evening, after dinner, they sat in the living room. The lights were dim. Soft music played from a small speaker. Chidi finally asked the question he had been holding back for 15 years. Ada, tell me everything. What happened to you after I left? And she told him about the lost calls, about the death of her father, about the betrayal of her uncles, about the empty nights, about the days she went to bed with only one meal, about the ulcer that started as a small pain but grew into a monster inside her stomach, about the tea kettle that became her only friend. When she finished, Chidi was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. Ada, I have to confess something to you. She looked at him. On the 63rd day I arrived in Canada, 3 men attacked me. They stole my bag. My phone was inside. That phone had your number. That was the last phone I ever had of you. Adeze covered her mouth. I tried to find you, Chidi continued. I wrote letters. They never reached you. I worked night and day. I built a software company from nothing. I sold it last year, and the first thing I did with the money was buy a ticket home. His voice broke. I have been looking for you, Ada, every single day of my life. Tears poured down Adeze's face. She leaned forward and hugged him tightly. I knew you would come back, she whispered. I never stopped believing. 1 month later, on a quiet Saturday evening, Chidi took Adeze to the rooftop of his home. The Lagos skyline glittered in the distance. He knelt down on one knee. In his hand was a small red box. Adeze, he began, his voice shaking. 20 years ago, I promised to come back for you. Life delayed me, but I never stopped loving you. Will you marry me? She smiled through her tears. Yes, she said, 1,000 times, yes. Their wedding took place 3 months later. It was small but elegant. Close family, old friends. Village relatives who had once mocked Chidi now sat at his table with bowed heads. Adeze wore a beautiful white lace dress. Chidi wore a fitted blue suit. When they danced under the decorated canopy, Chidi whispered in her ear, You sold your gold for me. You lost your home for me. You lost your youth for me. Today, I give you the rest of my life. Adeze closed her eyes and smiled. Sometimes love is not perfect. Sometimes life separates people. Sometimes good people suffer for years. But true love, the kind that sacrifices without asking, the kind that waits without complaining, that kind of love always finds its way back. This story teaches us that never give up on the people you love. Life is unpredictable, but loyalty always pays off in the end. Real wealth is not money. Real wealth is having someone who waited for you. No matter how long the separation, true love will find its way home. Thank you so much for staying till the end of this story. I pray it touched your heart. If this story blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to read what you think. Until the next story, take care of yourself and remember, the people who wait for you are the people worth coming home to.